Hello, everyone. This is Clarence Gomez, and welcome to the Clarence Gomez Show. I'm your host today, Clarence Gomez, and my guest today is Australian musical theater actress and, now a weightlifter and fitness trainer, Monica Swayne. Hi, Monica. Can you say hi to our listeners?
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well.
Can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
My name's Monica Swayne, as you've said, correct. And I guess you've just said it all. I am a musical theatre performer, both in Australia and in the UK, in Europe. And then, just like most musical theatre performers, I have a second career, which I don't necessarily do fitness training. I coach a sport. So I coach the sport of Olympic weightlifting, which is a bit niche, but there you go.
Who encouraged you to become a musical theater actress? Uh, who inspired you to choose that career?
Oh, I probably think it would be well, when I was younger, we didn't have much exposure to musicals like they would now. Also, I grew up in Adelaide, so shows didn't really tour to Adelaide. I didn't really know about musical theatre when I was much younger, but I guess subconsciously I was inspired by the old school MGM films. So I would say probably the pictures or the movies were the first thing that sort of made me fall in love with telling story through pitch. And then obviously I grew up dancing. So, you just kind of recognize how to put those two together later in life. But definitely MGM films would be where the love for storytelling through song came.
Yes, there are there are MGM films that becomes a musical, stage musical,
Mhm.
like Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, correct. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Also, you appear in Mary Poppins and you understudy the role of Mary Poppins in Australia, uh,
Mm.
with, along with Verity Hand Barnyard. And also,
Yes.
I interview one of also of the understudy there for Mary Poppins. She is Sarah Baker. I interview her last November. And
Mhm.
what is experience understudying and covering for the role of Mary Poppins in Australia?
Yeah, so that was the tour before the one that's just happened. So that was back with Matt Lee and Verity in 2012. So it was a while ago. Um, the experience of that, well, I was also a swing on the show. So I had a lot to learn on that show, as in my responsibilities. So not only did I swing the ensemble, but I also covered the role. And I guess, I mean, at the end of the day, whether you're a swing or a cover, that responsibility is kind of the same. Everyone sort of has the same responsibility, and that's to keep the curtain up, right? So I think the job was challenging in all aspects, whether it was if I went on for Mary or if I went on for female presenting number three. But it was a really cool role to learn and to perform. Um, I wish I could do it now that I'm a bit older because I think I understand the role a little bit more now that I'm a bit older because I was 21 when I covered that. But it's one of my favorite roles that I've ever covered and played, probably. Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. I'm afraid of
Yeah.
heights, which wasn't good fun when I had to fly. But apart from that, it was good fun.
One of the person also who play as Bert, I interview him on my podcast also, Matt Lee. Also, Matt Lee also performed in the UK tour also, I
Mhm.
think. Are you there too in the UK tour?
Yeah, so when I landed in the UK, I it was a funny story, but I actually ended up after like 4 weeks of living there, I ended up going to be an emergency Mary cover on the UK tour because someone had injured themselves quite badly. And in the UK, it's a bit different where you must take holiday. So they had to get an emergency cover so people could take holiday, essentially. So I went over and he was on the show. So it was just really funny because I hadn't seen him for such a long time. And I just rocked up to this theatre in Newcastle in the UK and he was like, hi. So that was good fun that we got to do that together again on the other side of the world. So, I mean, life is funny, isn't it? But yeah, I'm glad I got to go back and revisit the role and also get to do it with Matt because he's great. So, yeah.
You also do Wicked, the Australian tour of Wicked.
Yeah.
I remember that the Australian tour of Wicked also tour Asia, where they tour Singapore, South Korea, and my country, the Philippines. What is your experience in the Wicked musical?
I was on Wicked for a while, actually. There's been many contracts of Wicked that have happened. So I did 2013 to 2015, and it was like a big, decent chunk of my life. So, but it was also a long time ago. It was a while ago. I mean, that show is a very cool show. It's still quite relevant today, and you can see that even on the West End, it's selling out. And even before the film had been released, it was still quite a popular film, quite a popular musical, sorry. But yeah, my experience on that was great. It was one of the last shows I did in Australia before I left. So I think it was the last big tour I did. And then I moved to the UK a year later. So yeah, it was great to be in that show and work with those people, and covering the role of Glinda was good fun as well. Like, she flew, but not as high as Poppins, so that was acceptable because it was within the proscenium and it wasn't over people. But yeah, no, it was a great show, and I think, you know, I love working. I love working on like Aremus's orchestrations. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
You know, I watched that show when the Wicked Australian tour come to my country in Manila last 2014. You know, the cast are amazing. Susie Matters as Glinda, Gemma Wicks as Elphaba, Steve Danielsen as Piero, and Jay Lagaaya as the Wizard. Yes, they are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
In the Wicked.
Yeah, so Jay was with us in the Philippines. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was a very cool company.
Yeah. Also, after you did Wicked, you also do Aladdin in the West End. You also do cover roles of Jasmine there. What is the experience working in the West End in the Aladdin?
Yeah, for Aladdin specifically. Yeah, it was really great. Like, I really enjoyed. It was like my first West End show that I did when I moved over there, and it was at Prince Edward Theatre, which is a really lovely theatre. All the theatres in the West End are very, very different to one another. So I enjoyed working in that theatre, and I also enjoyed working with that cast. It was the second year that they did like a cast change. So I feel like the second year cast, I had a really good time working with them. And then I initially swung on that show. So I was hired as a swing, and then I ended up moving into featured ensemble, which was good because I got to do the first 6 months of the show learning all of the tracks. And then I got to do the last 6 months of the show doing featured ensemble singer-dancer tracks. So I kind of feel like I got the best possible outcome where you got to sort of split your year up a bit.
Like 7:45.
Do you know what I mean? Hold on a sec.
Oh, yeah.
Can you please? Thanks. Sorry, they're yelling. Did that answer your question? Sorry.
Aside from doing Aladdin, you also did many West End musical. Most notably, your latest musical is Evita, where you work with a famous Hollywood actress, Rachel Zegler. What is the experience working with her with Rachel Zegler on the Evita in the West End?
Yeah, she's the real deal. She's actually the real deal. And she's probably one of the most incredible performers I have ever worked with or experienced live. And she's also the greatest human being. And you forget how young she is. It just blew my mind into how, just like on a technical level of how she can create and navigate her voice 8 shows a week. Like what you hear on the album that's about to be released was her 8 shows a week. And she did basically she had some shows that I think she had 4 shows that she had scheduled off because she had other work to do, but she did every single show. She sounded the same. She had the best attitude. She was very connected with us as a cast. Like, I can't boast any more about that woman. Like whatever success comes her way, she has absolutely earned it, and she is deserving of it. So yeah, it was incredible to essentially share a stage with her, because that role, I don't know if anyone's seen Jamie Lloyd production of Evita, but Evita and Che don't leave the stage. So basically the whole show. And when she left the stage at top of Act 2, she was being filmed. So she is constantly doing the show when, some roles have a rest or some people get to sit off stage for a little bit. She was on Act 1 and Act 2, 8 shows a week for 12 weeks straight. So, and she sounded like that every show. It was insane. So yeah, if you get to New York, you should go see it, because they're about to do it in spring. So yeah.
Yeah, that's nice to work with that kind of person who is an Hollywood actress. Also, I want to tell you that West End, there are many non-British who are working in the West End. Not only Australian, there are also South African and even Filipino. My last episode last week, I interviewed Iwoy Abisamisa. He is a Filipino actor who is based on the West End, and he is currently playing as History on the West End production of Wicked. I interview him, and it is nice. He said to me, it is nice to work there in the West End. On your opinion, what is the difference working in Australia versus working in the UK in the West End? What is the difference of working there?
I guess the main difference would be the sheer amount of shows and the sheer amount of work that is in the UK. The Australian industry is very different to when I worked here. It's been 10 years since I've stepped on an Australian stage, so I feel like the industry in Australia is not the same industry that I was in. So I don't know if I'm at liberty to comment on how it is now, but back when I was performing pre-2016 in Australia, there were only a limited amount of shows, and maybe like 3 or 4 shows touring at once. So, as a performer, if you didn't get cast in the next show, then you probably not be cast in something for a year or a year and a half. And if you did get cast in it, you had a long wait process until that show was booted. So just in the UK, on average, you would audition maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And I think the most auditions I did was about 30 to 35 auditions in a month. So like you're constantly, if you're in shorter shows, which is what people generally enjoy doing, is, you just audition lots, you work with so many different creative teams, it's just, there's so much more variety. It comes at a bit of a cost because living over there is very expensive, and, some people would say their expected quality of life is a bit lower because, you live in shared housing, you don't have a car, things like that. But if you love living in big cities and you love your job and you want to be in that part of your life where you're okay with all of that, then it's definitely something that I would recommend. If you want to do it, you should. But yeah, so it's just a lot more variety, but it is a different industry. So Yeah, did that answer your question?
Here is the next question. How did you en encourage on becoming a fitness trainer and weightlifter aside from being a musical theater actress? How do you encourage to do that, to become a fitness trainer and weightlifter?
Well, I always try, like, I always trained outside of shows. I think that that's something that's super important, especially if you're going to be physical with your job. You need to ensure that your body and your mind stays strong and sane. So for me, I always trained, and I sort of always trained the sport of Olympic lifting because it was a really good, um, it was a good way of training strength when my job was cardio. So I didn't go and do cardio classes and then I'd go do a cardio show. I would do my strength training and then I would go and do the show. And then I guess just like everybody else, when COVID hit, we had no choice but to pivot. And the West End was closed for 18 months and I was waiting to do Frozen. So in that time, I used that time to sort of build Plan B, which I knew that there would be a time where I'd have to step away from the stage. And so that's what, I guess, made me become a coach of the sport is through COVID, I did my certificates and then I started to build my barbell club while I was on Frozen. And now I've stepped away from theatre and I've moved back home. It's something that I can make into like a physical business, as in having athletes that we coach and we take them to competitions, and it's sort of like our secondary business is the coaching sport and training sport. So yeah, I mean, COVID was probably the biggest thing for performers is, you know, we always say don't have a plan B, just have a plan A. But at that time, your plan A was irrelevant because you couldn't do your job. So you had no choice but to pivot to your plan B. So that's when lots of people, you know, opened the business that they always wanted to open or learn something they've never done before. And that's, for me, was COVID to start that side of my business. Yeah.
Uh, uh, let's talk about your business. What is Surge Performance, and can you tell about it and promote it to our listeners about Surge Performance?
Yeah, so it's a bit niche. My business is very niche. It's not, a lot of people think it's like fitness or like West End fitness or dancer fitness. It's absolutely not. It's it is specialty coaching for CrossFit gymnastics specifically and Olympic weightlifting as a sport. So basically, if you do CrossFit, it's made up of modalities, which is like cardiovascular, gymnastics, and Olympic weightlifting. And when I used to coach CrossFit, I still coach CrossFit now, but when I was coaching CrossFit in London, it came to my understanding that not very many people understand how to coach movement. They know how to run a class and they know how to make people feel great, but they actually don't know how to look at someone moving and go, what is the issue? Why can't they do that? How am I going to fix it? Right? And especially with gymnastics, which is like pull-ups and muscle-ups and handstand push-ups and all of this upper body dominant movement, that a lot of people didn't know how to coach women because it's one ball game to go. All you do is pull yourself up. Yeah, that's fine, but women can't do that. So when I was coaching, I was like, well, how can I help people who are spending their time in the gym trying to do these skills and they have no syllabus, they have no program, they have no direction. And so I decided to be a specialty coach and learn how to coach these movements and essentially what it takes to be able to do these movements from scratch. And so my business is just people who love the niche sport of CrossFit and want to get better at the hard stuff. I teach them how to do it, and I teach them around the world, so it's all online. And that's basically it. It's just the same as weightlifting, you know?
Yeah.
It's a skill. So that's what I do.
Also, you also participate in many weightlifting tournaments. Like I see that you represent Malta. What is experience participating on many weightlifting tournaments and representing country like Malta?
Well, for me, it's just a bit of fun because I'm never going to be an Olympian or I'm never going to represent on a world stage. So it's just like just a little bit of fun, you know. You train in the gym and you improve your numbers, and why not go and just test yourself? So that's essentially what I do is I just train, and then every now and then I go and do a competition and just go and have a bit of fun. That's all what it's about, really.
Uh, uh, let's talk about a question. I had a question for you. What kind of career will you choose? To become a musical theater actress or to become an weightlifting coach or fitness trainer? What will you choose between the two?
I don't think I need to choose.
Yes.
I don't think I need to choose at the moment. I just there's no work for me in Australia. there's you know, I think it's a really scary time for people to be looking at packing up their lives to take runs of play that potentially might not last. So hopefully something happens to help support the industry from a support level, as in the government supporting the arts, because I think when you're younger, it's easier to pack up and go on tour, but when you're older, there's a lot more responsibility placed on you. So for me, I would love to get back. Sorry, that's my mum. I would love to get back to performing, but it would just need to be the right job and the right timing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, here is the last question because we don't have a time. Can you give a little advice to our listeners who wants to become musical theater actors like you, and also for those our listeners who wants to become a fitness and weightlifting coach? Can you give them a little advice?
I think it would just be to never give up and educate yourself as much as you can. And the moment that you feel like you can't learn any more, then you need to find out how to learn more. Because the moment that you're stagnant is the moment that creativity dies. So yeah, that's probably my advice. It's probably a bit dark, but that's my advice.
Yeah. Also, here is another last question. Can you promote your business to our listeners, mostly from Australia, and encourage them to use it? Like, for example, your Swoosh performance or your other coaching things. Can you promote it to our listeners?
I think all I want to say is if you are a musical theatre performer and you know you have quite a physical show or you're in training, it's just my advice is to stay fit. My advice is to stay strong, because show fitness happens on the show. So my advice is to get a little bit of S&C into your program once or twice a week, into your routine, and just make sure that you find someone who knows what they're doing, and stay strong, because that's what's going to keep you uninjured.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have a time, and thank you for guesting to my podcast, and nice to chat with you. Before we end, I want to say shout out to our listeners and followers from Australia, Singapore, UK, US, and Canada. I want to say shout out from one of my guests and one of my followers also, and one of my friends from Australia, Evita Lee, who is a choreographer and one of my guests also, Josie Lane, who is one of my guests and a musical theater actress. I want to say shout out to Sarah Baker too. And for my friend from New Zealand, and for my friend from New Zealand and my followers there, I want to say shout out to Matthew Roderick and one of my former guests and my follower, also Hayden T. I want to say shout out to them. And from the UK, to my friends from the UK, I want to say shout out to Emma Clandon. She is a dance teacher and a lane theater arts graduate. I want to say shout out to Joe Pinch, Simon Ducerti, Hope Twig, and one of my follower also, uh, Emma Libin. I want to say shout out to them. And also from Singapore, I want to say shout out to John Cancio and Jed Jong. I want to say shout out to them. And also, I forgot, Sharda Harrison. And for my friend from the US, I want to say shout out to Debra Wade, Shaina Dinro, Matthew Shepard, Trisha Welo Pesava, Maggie Merritt, Sava Pardis, Carla Wen, and one of my friends from Connecticut, Chris Diaz. And also from Canada, I want to say shout out to Sydney Maloney, Elizabeth Morris, and James Andrew Todd. I hope if you are listening, you should be happy. Monica, can you say hi to them, to the person who I shout out?
Hello.
Yeah. Yes. And that's it, Monica. And thank you for guesting my podcast and have a nice chat with you today. And it's time to say goodbye. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Yes, bye. And that's my interview with Australian musical theater actress and a weightlifting and fitness coach, Monica Swayne. And I declare that this episode of the Giancarlo Gomez Show is now signing off. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for listening. Goodbye.